Hi guys, it's Kales, and it's March, which means I get to talk to you about books I read in February. It is the end of February, early March. They were 18 books. I'm really rather proud of that. As you know, my goal for 2017 is to read books that I already own and then try really hard to deplete my huge ass collection that I have in order to make room for some new favorites and try and bite that habit that I have of buying books that I haven't read. The first book that I read in the month of February was Steele, and I gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars because here's the thing. I don't know why I picked this book up in the first place because I don't like Jane Eyre, like at all. It is not one of my favorite classics, and I just thought this one would be grittier and better because it's like Jane Eyre retelling as she murders people instead of being weak and meek. And then in the end, she still just ended up being weak and meek, and I was like, I don't understand, like, why was this all an accident? I wanted a better, bigger, badass Jane Eyre, Jane Steele, and it wasn't, and I just was disappointed, and I kind of just didn't care. So, 2 out of 5 stars, and I'm unhauling it. Then I read Al Capone Does My Shirts, and I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. This is kind of a historical fiction about children who lived on Alcatraz when it was still a functioning prison, and the community of that, which I didn't know was a thing, and that's super cool. But what I loved the most was that I went into this thinking that, like, oh, he's gonna become friends with Al Capone, and it's gonna be like, you know, this secret underground mission thing, and no, it wasn't. But I was okay with the fact that it wasn't. It was just kind of about life on Alcatraz and in the 30s, and especially with his sister who has mental illness and how it was dealt with at the time. I really loved it, and I kind of want to continue the rest of the series when I get through with this goal, and yeah, I'm definitely keeping it. Then I picked up Romancing the Inventor, which is a short novella by KalesKorner because I had to, because I just missed this world, and it's about Madame LeFou and her falling in love with this maiden girl, and oh my god, it was so good. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I loved it, and it was really happy to get me back into the world, especially because KalesKorner is coming April 1st. Then I read Can We Talk About Something More Pleasant, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars because I couldn't relate to this book because I haven't reached that stage of life yet. It's very much about the author and her memoir of when her parents died and having to take care of them in their old age when they were in their 90s and unable to function in the same way. And I found it very sympathetic and very interesting and a little foreboding over what could possibly happen in my life with me and my parents, but I really enjoyed the honesty behind it and the sincerity, which was really good. And there were some funny moments as well. Then I read Honor Girl. Oh, what was this book? Oh my gosh, I read so many like sad graphic novels. I don't know how I got through them all, but Honor Girl, I gave it also 4 out of 5 stars, and it was this amazing book about this girl who discovers she's a lesbian at camp, and it actually, writing this book was her way of coming out to her family, but this story was just kind of like about first love and how you discover that and with somebody who's older than you and at camp and friendship, and oh my god, it was so intense, and at the ending I just was like, I had to text my friend who recommended it to me and was like, you are a cruel human being. Anyway, it was very, very good. I liked it. Then I read Blue is the Warmest Color, which it didn't get happier from there. Blue is the Warmest Color I had actually heard about because it's a French film, and this is a translated work from a French author. It was so good, wonderfully done. Again, about this young girl who falls in love with an older girl and their relationship as it progresses. The hardest part that I had about this book was there was this huge time jump in it that I didn't understand, and I didn't like the structure of it, and so that's why I like docked it a star and even really like another half a star, because I just was like, why is this structured this way? I don't understand. We had the story going in one direction and then we shifted it, and for no real reason. I don't know, but it was still beautiful, and the art was gorgeous and just well done and well told, and my heart broke several times over. Then I read Anyas Ghost, which I also gave a 4 out of 5 stars because holy crap, this book was about, oh my gosh, this Russian girl from the States who was trying to be normal like everybody else, and how she falls into a well and finds this ghost who tries to be her friend, but then there's this twist that you're like, oh my god, gosh, what? And I didn't see it coming, which I love. It was good, and it was about friendship and culture and like being true to who you are, and in the face of such adversity from other cultures and popularity and the whole, it was just really good and well told. And the monochromatic nature of the art, I think that's how you say it, it was really beautiful and well done as well. So yay. Then I read a graphic novel that I wasn't so fond of, and that was Over Easy. And the only reason I didn't really like this one, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, because I could appreciate it, but it was a slice of life story, and I struggle with slice of life stories, and I'm like, where is this going? What are we doing? What? Huh? Question mark. It's about this girl who gets a job at a restaurant in the transition from the 70s to the 80s, and it's a really great examination of that time period, and that's why I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars instead of less, even though I struggled with enjoying it, because again, I could appreciate what this story does. It also gives a great inside look into the restaurant industry, and as someone who has never been in that industry, but I've had several friends who tell me stories, it's very accurate and well done, and so that's why I gave it as high as I did, even though I was bored with the story because it didn't feel like there was a story. It was just a bunch of like characters intermingling, which was fine, just no plot, and that irked me. I then read The Other Side of the Wall, which I gave a 3 out of 5 stars because it was really short and it was very passive. It's about the story of this young boy and born on the other side of the Berlin Wall and the politics behind that, which was great. I learned a lot about that time period, and I learned a lot about the history of the Berlin Wall and how and why it went up and how people struggled to get from one side to the other, and that whole time period was really interesting, but it was short and, like I said, very passive, and it was like about his parents, and I just didn't like the way the story was told, but I still really appreciated what it was for that time period and what it meant. Then I read The Gigantic Beard That Was Evil. And this one I gave a 3 out of 5 stars, but the more I think about it, I almost want to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. I really dislike books that hit you over the head with its symbolism and metaphors and all that stuff, and that was totally this book. It was about this man who lived in this very, very, like, same black and white world, and then all of a sudden the beard grows and things change. I just was like, oh god. It felt like a Pixar short. About, here's your lesson on morality for the day, and here's a lesson on being different, and that's fine. I can get the symbolism behind it, and I understand it. That doesn't mean I have to like it. Then I read American Born Chinese, and I liked this one a lot. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars because it was weird how the 3 stories came together. There were 3 different stories, and it was very meta, and very interesting, and very well told, and I gave this like a high 3 out of 5 stars, like 3.5 and stuff, and I think it was just, again, because I couldn't necessarily relate to the young boy, but like I said, I appreciated the art, and I appreciated the storytelling, and the way that it dipped into a culture that I knew very little about was really interesting, and the idea, again, of identity, and it's such a great representation of windows and mirrors, and it's awesome and good, and you know, it's well deserved of all the accolades it's gotten. Oh my gosh, but then here come 2 of probably my favorite graphic novels that I read this entire month. And one was El Delfo, and I could have read more and more and more about El Delfo my whole, like, life. I love this character. It is about the author and how she got meningitis when she was 4 years old, which is really impactful to me because I also am a survivor of meningitis at a very young age, and how it has screwed up my nervous system is very interesting, and she became hard of hearing as a result of meningitis, and it's very much about her struggling with the hearing aids and her trying to learn language and reading others' lips, but also being a kid and doing that, and she makes them bunnies, so it's like easier to relate to, which I loved, and I just really related to this one, and I found it so interesting and a great insight into the hard of hearing and deaf community. I read the Nao of Brown, and I also really like this one. It is about a young lady who struggles with OCD. She's half Japanese, half American. Her journey that she takes to deal with her OCD is very interesting. She has this weird fascination with toys. And the one thing I didn't understand was like the little introduction about the weird half plant, half human child, and I'm sure there was some symbolism in there that was supposed to be, but I didn't get it. And that's okay. I don't need to get it. So that was my one problem with it. But again, the art was beautiful. The symbolism I did understand was great. The portrayal of mental illness was awesome. And Buddhism and meditation and the way that she handles it, it's just really good. But I just didn't understand the half plant boy section. It's that time of the month again. That sounded really weird. Let's not do that.